Hello from your election headquarters. This is Election Brief with me, Araba Kumsid. Coming up in today's edition, 4 persons arrested in connection with the Kaswa registration violence and that they've been granted bail by Cape Coast Circuit Court. We have all the latest. Also, calls for the dismissal, arrest and prosecution of Minister for Special Development Initiatives, Mavis Kumsin, increases after she admitted to firing a warning shot at a voter registration center. And registration has meanwhile resumed at the Step to Christ Center.
His Excellency the President will ask Mrs. Kumsin to step aside by tomorrow afternoon or probably dismiss her.
And Member of Parliament for Kumbungu Ras Mubarak calls on Parliament's Privileges Committee to summon and investigate Kumsin for firing warning shots at a registration center on Monday. We are live on your digital TV because we are free to air also on your DSTV channel 421 and GoTV channel 144. Stay tuned in. Thanks for your company once again. Now, the 4 persons who were arrested in connection with the Kaswa registration violence have been granted bail by Cape Coast Circuit Court. The court, presided by Her Honor Dorinda Smith Arthur, granted them bail to a sum of 30,000 cedis each with 2 sureties, and one of the sureties should be a government worker whose net salary is 2,000 cedis. The accused were charged with conspiracy to commit crime, causing unlawful damage to the 3 motorbikes, and discharge of firearms in a public place without authority. The accused pleaded not guilty to all 3 charges. Lawyer for the accused, Ampon Sadaze, then pleaded for bail for the accused. His plea for bail was granted by the court. The case has been adjourned to the 18th of August 2020 for a case management conference. But the accused are to report to the Kaswa police station every Tuesday until the case is called. Richard Kojonyako is a correspondent in the Central Region. He joins us via Zoom with the very latest on this. So, Richard, tell us, on what basis did the court grant them bail?
Well, the court said that the accused pleaded not guilty, and then it was also based on the plea by the lawyer for these 4 persons, that these people be granted bail. And so based on that, the court said that, well, he's going to grant them bail, but they have to report to the Kaswa Divisional Police Commander every Tuesday, and then when they have satisfied the bail conditions that have been given them.
And you've been speaking to the police on this particular matter. What have they been telling you, especially about the calls to apprehend the MP, Mavis Kumsin?
Well, so according to the police, the MP has been invited to the Divisional Police headquarters in Kaswa to write a caution statement. And then we asked her, why is it that she's not been arrested? Because all of these 4 persons were arrested, and one of the charges of these 4 was that they opened firearms in public without permission. And so if the MP has admitted to firing some gunshot, why has she not been arrested? And she said that, well, it will be based on what she writes, the statement she writes when she comes to the police station, and she could be arrested there and then at the police station after a few interrogations. And so they are waiting for her to finish writing her statement, and then based on that, she could be apprehended there.
I see. Earlier, we had heard reports that she was asked to write her statement in her house. How true is that?
Well, so what we picked up was true, but the police have denied that they are now inviting her over to the police station. As to whether she's responded to the invitation by the police to get to the police station, we are yet to hear. But this is the account of the police, that she's been invited to come over and write her caution statement. But we got the indication that the police went to her house for her to write her caution statement this morning.
All right, Richard Nyako there, our Central Regional Correspondent, bringing us up to date on that developing story. Now, there are growing calls from various quarters for the prosecution and dismissal of the Minister for Special Development Initiatives, Mavis Kumsin. In an interview with our sister station, Adum TV, the minister admitted to firing a warning shot at a registration center in a constituency, Ewutu-Senya East. EC officials at the Step to Christ Center fled the scene as the exercise turned violent with motorbikes seized and set ablaze. Madam Kumsin explains one of the cars in a convoy was surrounded by motor riders, causing her to fire a warning shot to disperse them. She also said that the men who accompanied her to the center were not armed. Eyewitnesses, however, contradict this testimony. There's more in the following News Desk report.
As usual, we were doing our registration for the...
An eyewitness explains the cause of the violence that marred an otherwise peaceful registration exercise at Kaswa. JoyNews was there. The NDC candidate, Felix Koyo, accused the MP, Mavis Hawakumsin, of being behind the violence.
I am saying it's on authority that she instructed that the people should be shot and their motorbikes being bent because she was there with folded hands.
The MP spoke on the matter on Adom TV. First, she claimed when she arrived at the center, one of the cars in her entourage was surrounded by men on bikes. This was when she fired a warning shot.
I didn't direct it on anybody. So I gave warning shots, no one to stay or home. So that was what happened.
She insists the men who accompanied her to the center did not carry arms.
Maybe anywhere will create to the Dimitri.
I want to be a weapon.
Eyewitnesses contradict this narrative. First, on the cause of the violence, one says the men in the company of the MP tried to sack the people riding the bikes. Their refusal is said to have triggered the confusion.
All of a sudden, they said there's a car with bodyguards inside. That is how I couldn't see. So as they come, they were claiming anyone who is not part of the ID card should move away. And there was a royal bike here. So they decided to take the bike out of the way, and the guy said he should leave it, he will do it by himself. He just started beating the bikes, all the bikes around, put fire in it, beat the owners of the bike and just left. That's what happened.
He also says, contrary to the minister's claims, the men were armed with not only guns.
They were holding guns and stuffs. Pinkers, guns, everything they were holding it. So even you cannot stand, you have to run. Everybody was running away. And there was a pepper spray and a lot of stuff.
Another eyewitness confirms this narrative regarding the motorbike.
So they just gathered it here and then they set fire on it and burn it for no reason. So the EC official realized what is going on and it was so serious. So they just have to leave the place because here isn't safe anymore.
A gentleman stationed at the center says the MP was present during the scuffle over the bikes and urged those around to be calm.
She was here. She's telling us not to run away. Nothing is going to happen. Whilst people are pulling rifle, shooting.
The account of the police even makes understanding the violence more confusing. The police officers confirm a gun was retrieved from the 4 suspects arrested for the violence. The officers also explain that these individuals were being held for the gunshots and the burning of the bikes.
So we have arrested 4 people in connection with what about happened at that registration center?
At least can you confirm that they had guns when you arrested them?
We have seized 1 gun.
First, a gun was fired. The MP claims it was her gun. The police made arrests and retrieved 1 gun. So, were there others who fired gunshots? This eyewitness, a trader, had 2 bullet marks on her gate. Her shop is at least 500 meters away from the registration center where the violence broke out.
So that was a News Desk report putting everything into context. And there's been widespread condemnation from election observers and security analysts with calls for the minister to resign and be prosecuted. Well, joining me via Zoom is security expert Adam Bona and also National Youth Organizer of the NPP, Henry Nana Boakye. Many thanks for your time, gentlemen. Let me begin with Adam Bona. Mr. Bona, is she justified by her actions since she was claiming that her life was threatened?
Good afternoon to your viewers and good afternoon to the other panelists from the MPP. It is sad. I mean, probably your short documentary and probably your own investigations on the ground, further confirms some of the suspicions. And I am sad that this is happening, around this time. It shouldn't have happened. You clearly indicated in the video, I believe the whole world watched, bullet holes in a gate. When you are given warning shots, you aim, in the sky. You don't aim, around the head level. And so this is clearly probably contradicts what the Minister of State indicated. And the police, from what your reporter's interaction with the police commander in that jurisdiction further contradicted what the Minister of State had put out. Because according to the Minister of State, her people were not wielding firearms.
Mr. Bona, when you started, you said it confirmed certain suspicions. What suspicions does it confirm?
The suspicion that a lot of things have not been put out there. The Minister of State is clearly trying to hide a lot of the things that took place. The Minister of State clearly didn't know, doesn't really understand her actions at the said venue. Because you played, I think, a voice from, your sister station, Adom FM. Right. And she said, maybe to scare them. Mm-hmm. And she doesn't actually understand that violates the firearms permission. If you have to do such a thing, you need a certain permission to do it. And so a lot of contradiction, and I am sad. This shouldn't be happening. And as a Minister of State, she should have known better. And as a Minister of State, I want to urge that when some of these people would have to be given appointments, they would have to be oriented, given proper tutelage, proper training with regards to the do's and don'ts. Because if you listen to her, what the police should have done should have, taken the full, custody of this tape from Adom FM. And if you listen to that tape, it is her voice, which confirms what she herself has done, because it is her voice. Immediately, they had that probably listened to, they should have arrested her, because then she had confirmed she had a firearm in public and she, shot.
To be fair, she claims that the firearm is licensed and she carries on with it.
No. You see, a license, do you know how many Ghanaians are licensed firearms bearers in this country? If you are going as a Minister of State, she is entitled to state security. She's entitled 24/7 to state security. Right. The reason why she would have carried a firearm to such a public place was because she probably would have done her own assessment and thought that it would be too risky, and so let me carry my firearm. The moment that comes into your mind, she shouldn't have put her own life at risk. Let's assume that what she said is true. She should have called her security detail to join her. If she further felt that, under the circumstances, one police officer will not help.
Okay, another argument she makes is that she didn't have any of her security detail around her, but we'll come to that. Let me bring in Nana Boache now. First of all, we want to know if the party's position on the violence which occurred yesterday, is there any official position of the party on this particular incident?
Thank you. And good afternoon once again. The official position is the position of the police investigation. It appears a lot of people are reading a lot of meanings into what, trying to concoct their own reasons and rationalization for some of the activities that took place. And for me, I have spoken to the minister, and the minister indicated to me that, yes, indeed, he had gotten some information that some people were bused to a certain registration center. So she actually got up at dawn, and she has a gun with her. And in fact, for most or even all parliamentary all MPs, they have been oriented with this security staff, and majority of them, almost all of them, they do have guns, licensed guns with them. So it is a gun she has, and yes, indeed, she's also indicated that it's a licensed gun. And at a point, she felt threatened. Her life was under attack, and some young men who were on motorbikes, they were on Max, and unfortunately, these days, we actually walk around with Max, and then they were on motorbikes, they were approaching her vehicle, and then before that too, they had sounded or they had given some signals already that they had wanted to harm her. So she herself, she had cause to report this matter to even her personal security details and all of that. So what the Honorable MP is saying that she was under attack, and then she gave a warning shot to disperse the crowd.
Do you think that her action was justifiable?
Yes, she must protect her life. I mean, and self-defense is firmly situated within our laws. I mean, it is quite clear once that she felt threatened and she felt that her life is at stake, and indeed she gave a warning shot. I mean, that is justifiable.
So does the party stand with her, or is the party going to distance itself from her actions?
No, we are waiting for the police investigation, because what action are you talking about here? The minister is saying that her life was under attack, and then she fired a warning shot to save her own life, to disperse the young people who were coming, who were charging towards her. So the party's position will be that of the police, the conclusion of the police investigation. So that is what we are waiting for.
Okay.
So I think that a lot of people are giving so many meanings into it. I mean, this is where people will try to make their own conclusions into what. I don't think we don't have to preempt what the.
But I'm sure you've heard the condemnation, the widespread condemnation by, a cross-section of Ghanaians, ordinary Ghanaians to experts, security experts, election observers. They're all saying that the minister's action was reprehensible. She should be apprehended. She should be dismissed.
I totally disagree with such. And in fact, the colleague on the other side, if your life is under threat, you would have to protect yourself. If indeed the police would have to carry out a detailed investigation and indeed conclude that, yes, her life was under attack, and then the young men coming towards her, charged towards her, had plans or intended plans of causing some harm to her. Yes, then indeed it's justifiable. So, I mean, all the people saying that, it appears that they've also lost focus on a certain fact. If indeed her life was under attack, you were expecting her, when she has a licensed gun, you were expecting her to fold her arms? No, I don't think so. So what she did at that particular moment, the police is under investigation, so we should wait. And people easily jump to conclusion, because we also need to also listen to her side of the story. We can fault the entire situation, because obviously I also don't agree with some of these violence associated with the registration. I mean, it's quite unfortunate, but I'll also charge the police and then other security agencies. Look, Kaswa has always been on one of the hot spots, and I think as an identified hotspot, the security there should be beefed up. And I mean, we know, just before this, we have heard several stories where some people, even our party people, said they have been under attack.
Right.
The other side too, they are also complaining.
Right.
So I think that the
security should be stepped up. Sure.
Yeah,
sure.
They should beef up security in there.
Very quickly, Mr. Bona.
Let me make this bold statement.
Okay, very quickly.
We also need to listen to her once. Let me reiterate that if she says that her life was in danger and she was under imminent attack, clearly her actions are justifiable.
Very well. That point has been made. Thank you so much. Very quickly, let me end with Mr. Bona. In such a situation, how do you expect one to conduct oneself?
Well, this situation shouldn't have happened. This situation shouldn't have happened, and probably I would have to correct or probably seek for clarification from my other colleague on the other side. He said he doesn't agree to some of the violence. Is that to suggest you agree to some, but you don't agree to some?
No.
Maybe.
Yes. I said that I don't agree in principle to any violence associated with the registration process. I said it. I'm not saying
if you don't agree in principle, it means you agree to something called violence. Mine is that the president has reiterated, and it is enshrined in our constitution, that we've got to be law-abiding. The Minister of State did indicate that the people following her, she was very categorical. I am not the one quoting or misquoting her. She said, the police, they have contradicted her. Right.
Okay, all right. Thank you, gentlemen, for that. Now, still staying on this issue, Kumbungu MP Ras Mubarak is asking the Privileges Committee of Parliament to summon and investigate Howard Kumsin for firing warning shots at the registration centre yesterday. He says the action is an embarrassment to Parliament and a contempt of the House. And he says the action has brought the name of the House into disrepute and made Parliament a subject of public ridicule. And he wants the Privileges Committee to sanction the minister. Joseph Opoku-Gapo is our parliamentary correspondent. He joins us via Zoom. Joseph, so as I was asking, this position, is it backed by the entire minority?
The indication is that for the entire minority, specifically I've been speaking to the chief whip on the minority side, Muntaka Mubarak, who makes the point that the actions by Madam Hawa Kumsin is condemnable and that he thinks it's reprehensible, it shouldn't have happened. He admits himself he has a gun, but he doesn't see a situation where anyone should be brandishing a gun anywhere around the polling center. So when it comes to the general minority, particularly from the chief whip, Muntaka Mubarak, they back the general idea that these acts are condemnable. But Muntaka Mubarak is hesitant about the push for anything having to do with Privileges Committee, because he goes on to make the point that a lot of things have come up here in Parliament that should have actually seen the committee cracking the necessary whip. That never happened. And so the confidence to even take it there and demand action at that level is something that he doesn't have, although they all generally think the actions are condemnable.
Okay, and we know you've been speaking to the Deputy Majority Chief Whip as well, who says that any such move will be a waste of the Privileges Committee's time. So what more has he been saying in respect of this?
He makes the point that the police are looking into the issue and that everyone should allow the police investigation to unfold, and then let's wait for what the outcome of it will be. He thinks this is not something that should engage the that should engage the attention of the Privileges Committee, because this is someone acting in her private position as a parliamentary candidate. But then he went on to condemn the act, that he thinks it's out of place, that Madam Hawa Kumsin even brandished the gun and went ahead to fire warning shot. But he doesn't think this is something that the Privileges Committee should actually pay any form of attention to.
Yes, though, an MP asking for a fellow MP to be dragged before the committee. But what processes will be required if the Privileges Committee decides to take this up and investigate it?
And so this could actually happen through a number of processes. An MP can move a motion on the floor of Parliament requesting that the House adopts a resolution referring the said act of Madam Hawa Kumsin to the Privileges Committee, and then the Speaker will then have to take go ahead and do that necessary referral. The Privileges Committee can decide how they would want to do their investigation, whether they would want to do it as a public inquiry or a closed one. They could go ahead and set up and allow for the cameras and all for the said individual, the MP in question, and other possible witnesses to show up before the committee and probably testify. And at the end of any such process, then they would bring a recommendation to the floor of the House for the necessary approval. We recall that in the life of this 7th Parliament, a number of such referrals have gone before the Privileges Committee, including one that involved Kennedy Japan, who allegedly had said things that brought the name of the House into disrepute, and a number of others. And so usually that's the process that it would take. But this is something that on a regular day, if the Privileges Committee has to look into it, someone has to raise it on the floor for the Speaker to do the necessary referral, and then the committee will come back to the floor with a recommendation on possible sanctions that should be taken.
Very well. Joseph Opoku-Gapo, thank you very much for that. But that'll be all for Election Brief for today. Remember to stay tuned to Joy News, because we'll be following this development closely on the Pulse as well as JoyNews Prime later in the evening. I'm Arbor Kumsin.